Welcome back, survivors. This is Atlas, and today we're going to talk about, is Atlas a mod for ARK? So I have this on PC, but I'm using my controller here to highlight something. If you scroll down below the exit, now they've since patched this since this video was recorded, but scroll down below exit with your controller and hit A, you pull up the ARK menu. This is the ARK launcher menu with all the advanced settings, all the graphic, all the settings for it. And you see right here, there is the Ocean Story Arc. This is all the story arcs with Scorched Earth and the island and all that, the center, Ragnarok. The ocean is Atlas. You can fool around with all the difficulty level and the mods and the settings, modify all the settings, tick the little check boxes, all that stuff for setting up a custom server, that sort of thing. This is the sort of things you can set up a custom game with. All these sliders are present. But if you, and they even have a mods box over here, which mods you can load into the game. There currently isn't a mod folder for Atlas. We'll go into that a little bit later. But right here, you can click Play Single Player on Ocean. Ocean is the Atlas mod. And right here, it pulls up, this is the Atlas character creation screen. You see, it's a little bit different than ARK. It's very similar. You can create the same janky-looking characters as ARK because the game is built on the ARK. Not just the same engine, same engine as ARK, but it is a mod of the ARK files. We'll go into some of the files a little bit later. But you can create the same janky characters. You know, the same skinny, short people with long arms, all the, you know, goofy-looking characters you can create in ARK, that everybody seems to like short characters because they're harder to shoot in PvP. So you can do all that crazy stuff in Atlas as well. But this is the Atlas character creation screen that we got to through the ARK menu. So Atlas is built on top of ARK. It is quite literally just a story arc, a DLC or a mod, a reskin, if you will, of ARK. If you look over here, you can even go to the tattoo settings on the right-hand side. Let's type in our name here. Our Pathfinder is Jimmy. Type it correctly. There we go. Jimmy. Oh, tab doesn't work because I'm using the controller. There we go. Jimmy the Saint. There we go. And we can create a Pathfinder or draw the tattoos. I'll quickly go over the tattoos here. You can select the paint. This is exactly what you can do when you start an Atlas world. When you join the server on Atlas, you create your character, you can give them tattoos, all this. So this is exactly the same what you would find when you create a character in Atlas, except that we launched it through that ARK menu. Skip through this real quick, and I'm going to jump back, and we're going to hit play and start a new world. All right, here we go. Let's click on it, and we'll start the game up. And you'll see we get the error message. This is the fatal error. This is the crash that we get. And this is the shooter game. This is the exact same description that ARK uses in its Unity files, or not Unity, excuse me, Unreal Engine files. It is called the quote-unquote shooter game project. As you can see, it is called YARK. Literally, Atlas is a mod of ARK. It is called YARK Project Shooter Game. It is ARK. It is built on top of ARK. It is a mod of ARK. We'll go over the files here in just a second. We'll take a look at the files. Just to read over this briefly, you can see ARK is mentioned in this error report several times. It literally calls the game ARK with a different executable name. Just Atlas is what they called the executable, but it is literally built on top of ARK. Not just the same assets, which we'll go into here in just a second. We show a lot of the same assets that they pulled from ARK, but it literally is built on top of ARK. Let's dive into some of those assets now. Alright, here we are. This is the ARK folder on my Steam library. This is in my games directory. This is the ARK folder, and this is the Atlas folder right here. As you see, they have very similar, they run on the same engine, okay? Well, granted, they're going to run on the same engine because they are the same game. But they have the same files in here. If you dig through the files, we're going to dig through them here in a little bit. The most interesting thing is that they're both called Shooter Game, and that has been ARK's code name since the beginning. It was the code name for the game. It's no different with Atlas. Going into that folder, we see we have the same subfolders inside here with the same files and assets in almost all of these folders. We're going to dig through a few of them here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, right here we're going into the content folder of each game. As you can see, Aberration is listed right here in ARK. This is the DLC Aberration folders listed in here. It's the same folder listed in the content subfolder of Atlas. Why is that? Because it uses the same files. It shares a lot of the same assets. In fact, they don't just share, they pull them directly from ARK. Many of the assets you find in ARK are also in Atlas. That's not only textures, it's sound files, it's AI behavior. We'll jump into that one here. It is dinosaurs themselves. There are some of the same dinosaurs in ARK. They are in the files of Atlas. I have not seen them yet in the game. I know that you cannot ride them because the saddles are not present in the game. They may not be in the game yet, but the assets are there for these creatures to appear in the game later. Let's jump forward a little bit into some of those files. All right, here we are where we can see some of the same files, some of the same creatures listed in ARK that are also listed in Atlas. So we got a lot of the same, you know, you can understand some of the sea creatures like the anglerfish and some of the fish and things like that would be the same. They just pull those assets over. But they even use some of the same land dinosaurs, which I think is a little bit odd to have dinosaurs in a pirate game. But that's besides the point. The point is... You can dig through the files yourself if you want. I had both the games here, so I decided just to see how similar they were. They have the same assets pulled from ARK. Atlas is literally built on top of ARK. Now, having said that, I would not have a problem with this if it weren't for them being kind of deceptive about it. The developers could have just said up front, yep, this is a DLC, or this is a mod for ARK, or a ARK conversion, if you will, which is basically what it is. It's an ARK conversion. It runs on top of ARK. They just converted the game over to a pirate game. Got rid of a lot of the dinosaurs. Got rid of some of the breeding aspects and taming aspects. Some of it's still there, but they've changed it here and there. They got some new assets added to the game, so it's basically a conversion, an ARK total conversion. And I'd be fine with that if they had said that up front. But they're basically advertising this game as its own standalone product, which it is not. It is an ARK DLC or mod or whatever you want to call it, reskin, if you will. It is literally ARK. And you can see that from the files and the folders. You could go through, dig through them yourself if you like. But if they had said up front, you know, this is an ARK conversion, we're going to sell it, I would be okay with that. You know, release it in early access. And it was, the launch was terrible. We spent hours last night just trying to get in, and we finally got it. It took probably 4 hours just sitting at the main menu. But that's a totally different video, a different subject entirely. But I'd be fine with it if they had said up front, you know, this is a conversion of ARK. We're going to sell this as its own standalone product, separate from ARK. It is running basically on top of ARK, but it is its own game, and we're going to sell it as such. I'd be fine with that. I don't think I'd want them to charge $60 for it, which they probably eventually will with Atlas if it is successful. And they get to a complete launch here in, a year, 2 years. I don't know how long it'll take them, but if they get to a full launch and consider the game finished, they're going to mark the game up. It's currently like $30 right now. I think it's on sale during the Steam sale for like $25 or whatever it is. But they're eventually going to mark the game up, right? It's going to be a full-price title. Then they're almost guaranteed to have its own DLC on top of it. So it's interesting that it is a mod or a DLC, and they are... I'm speculating, of course, but I would assume if they're going to make it a full-fledged game and charge $60 for it as a full commercial release, they are going to have DLC for it later at some point, which is mind-blowing in that it is itself a DLC for ARK, and they're going to sell a DLC for a DLC. What kind of world are we coming to as gamers now? That being said, the game is getting pretty hammered in the reviews. Let's jump over to the Steam page and check that out. Alright, so this is the Steam store page, and it's listed as mostly negative right now, but that has changed since I recorded this video. Now I'm editing it. It is listed as overwhelmingly negative. And right here are the Steam refunds requests over the past 24 hours. You can see over 200,000 Steam refund requests. I have to figure, since Atlas was the only major game released yesterday, that most of those refund requests are for Atlas. So if you take into account the negative reviews, all the refunds, it's been a pretty rough launch for the developers. But let me know what you guys think. Sound off down in the comments below. Do you really care that it's a mod for ARK? I mean, some people are making a really big deal out of it. Personally, I think it would have been okay if they had just said up front, hey, you know, that's what this is. would just come right out and say it, but, you know, they chose to go about it a little bit deceptively, so, you know, I decided to make this video, and we'll go from there. That being said, I have played the game. I was able to get in with a couple of my buddies, and we played the game for 4 or 5 hours last night, and it's not bad. It's got potential. It needs a lot of work, especially on the networking side. It's the servers were extremely difficult to log in. They were overloaded. They're supposed to be able to hold 40,000 people, but only like half of that were actually able to get in last night on the server that we were on, at least. And then it was so laggy and rubber banding everywhere. Like, we finally got on a raft and started sailing, and the rubber banding was so bad we basically weren't moving. We could swim faster than a raft was going at full sails. So it's got a lot of issues. It needs some work, but maybe we'll make some more videos on that later. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more Atlas and ARK content. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, post me your comments and questions below, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.